Hello! Welcome to the last day of NaNoWriMo, the last video. Not ever. I'll probably be back in a couple days. But if you're new, hi, I'm Melissa. I just wrote something like 80,000 words in the last 29 days. I've also been vlogging that. So if you're stumbling upon this, you're looking for some NaNoWriMo content, even though it's like over now. That's when I watch the most NaNoWriMo content, actually, is afterwards. But I just kind of wanted to do a November wrap up, which you might be thinking, Alyssa, we just spent every day with you. What else would you possibly have to wrap up? Well, typically how I do these monthly updates is I do it very similar to Lindsay Puckett. That's kind of where I got the format from. So definitely check that out. She's got a lot of great stuff. So I'll wrap up kind of the writing, the reading, and then also any life things that happened this month that you don't know about, which you pretty much saw it all. I mean, we can start with the writing. So I got through, I would say 85% of the book, and it's about 82,000 words. And this was the first month that I've ever done dictation, which is essentially just talking writing rather than typing with your fingers. Needless to say, it went very well. I will be very interested to see how the editing goes. Yeah, so the writing was very good. I think I wrote almost every day. There were maybe 2 or 3 that I didn't write at all, and that's okay. I plan to do a video in December or just sometime about this idea of writing every day because I actually have a lot of thoughts about it. Because there's a lot of quotes, there's a lot of people who talk about needing to write every day. And I just have a lot of feelings about that because yes and no. But anyway, I did write almost every day this month, and I feel like I've really made a lot of progress in my thriller. Is it a thriller? You guys, I don't know. I'm so bad at genre, but it's a thriller. There might be a subgenre that it's in. I don't know. It's like Castle, if you've seen that, but not really. It just has some of the vibes of Castle. If you want more in-depth, go back through, watch all the videos. Reading, let's talk about the books that I read this month because some of them, let's pull it up. Mostly audiobooks this month. Most of them I've talked about briefly, but let's start. I read so many books this month. Like, how did that happen? The first one was The Vengeance of the Pirate Queen, which I talked about when I got it. It is the 3rd book in the Daughter of the Pirate King series, which I did not expect to have a 3rd book, and frankly didn't need it, but it's about a different main character, and I thought it was interesting. It follows a side character, like sort of a side couple that was sort of set up briefly in the first 2 books, and so one critique I always have of these kind of series where they have a second series that follows different characters, but the characters from the first one are still like there. I had this problem with Adrienne Young, who I love Adrienne Young's books, but when I read, I really loved Sky in the Deep, and then the next book that came out was about people who were like very close to the main characters of Sky in the Deep, but it didn't follow them at all. Like the main characters from that first book were not really in the second book at all, and it was hard for me to get into the story because I was just looking for those other characters, wanting that story more. I think a lot of book series do it really well. Like I would say like Shadow and Bone is a good example of this because like each series is far enough removed from each other that you can really get invested in the characters. Maybe this is just me. I think it fell into that a little bit. It also was interesting because it was a lot more like sort of sci-fi-y than fantasy. It felt a lot more like an episode of Doctor Who than it did like The Daughter of the Pirate King. It was good. Did the series need a 3rd book? No. Did I read it? Yes. I read another Catherine Center book. It was her first one, The Bright Side of Disaster, which was published in like 2007. So it was weaker than her other books for sure, but that one's essentially about like this woman who's like very pregnant and her fiance like leaves the day before the baby's born, and there's like sort of a handsome neighbor. That's the pitch that I was given, and so I was expecting like, oh, romance. It wasn't that. It was very vulnerable, actually. It was a lot about like birth and like having a newborn baby and like that kind of stuff, which it was very good. It was very short. Catherine Centered, she never misses. And then I've been re-listening to Throne of Glass. It's just very an autumnal read. I also am reading all of Sarah Janet's work again. So I listened to Crown of Midnight and Heir of Fire and Queen of Shadows and Tower of Dawn. Is that correct? That's frankly impressive. I really love that audiobook narrator, and now having fully read the series and reading it again, I think this is like my second or maybe third reread. I don't know. I reread books a lot, you should know. I really do like Throne of Glass. Actually, that whole series just coming together. I have a friend who's reading it for the first time right now, and so it's just a journey. I do actually have a thought about it. If someone's telling you to do the tandem read of Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms, like I get it, I really do, I get it. How it works is, read Empire of Storms, which ends on literally, I think, the worst cliffhanger I've ever read in my entire life, like literally the worst one. Actually, maybe the second House of Earth and Blood or whatever Crescent City nonsense, that one might be worse, but Empire of Storms is bad. And then the next book that you're supposed to read chronologically is Tower of Dawn, which is about nothing. Like, it's like you go back in timeline to the beginning of Empire of Storms and you have to read through that timeline again with a character that a lot of people don't like. I actually really love Tower of Dawn. I think I like it more than Empire of Storms. It might be one of my favorite books in the series, if I'm honest. But I tried to do the tandem read ones where you read both of them at the same time so that you don't have to deal with the cliffhanger at the end. But I really do like Tower of Dawn. It's a different genre. It is a different genre than Empire of Storms. I mean, it's still the same characters, but it is like an isolated suspense, like psychological thriller, essentially. It's a really good book, and I want people to just read it on its own. And so that's what I have to say about that. Just power through. Just read, like, this is my recommendation, okay? Read until the cliffhanger is resolved. But skip all of the Chaol chapter. Like, read, after you finish Empire of Storms, go to Kingdom of Ash, read all of the chapters that don't spoil Tower of Dawn, and then go back. Then once the cliffhanger is resolved, then go back to Tower of Dawn. I don't know, that's horrible advice, but that's what I would do. That's that on that. I also listened to The Coworker by Frida McFadden, which, girl boss, what was that book? Oh, that one is technically about, like, you're at an office job and the coworker goes missing, but it's like this really strange woman who, like, is obsessed, like, when I say obsessed, you guys, obsessed with turtles. And then there's all these emails about turtles and someone goes missing and it's like kind of a dual POV. It was good. So weird, and it just was stressful, but it was good. Frida McFadden, I like to read because it reminds me that I can just, like, say things in thrillers. That sounds wrong, but, like, just do things. Like, sometimes I think I tiptoe around, like, oh, I don't know if I want to, like, have a dead body so soon in the book, and Frida McFadden's like, girl, do it. She just kind of reminds me, like, in thrillers, you can just, like, start doing action early in the book. Like, there's a build, obviously, but anyway, I also listened to the Happily Ever After playlist, which is by Abby Jimenez. It's a romance. Is it a rom-com? Technically, yes. But it is in this, like, rom-com cinematic universe. I love when there's a rom-com cinematic universe. Like, Allie Hazelwood does this where there's, like, a cameo from a character in the other, blah, 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 you know? Abby Jimenez has done this too. The first book I read by her was Life's Too Short. It's essentially this woman who is just in a rough spot in life, and she's just had a very big loss of her significant other, and then, like, a year or two before, he's like a rock star. It's like a rock star rom-com, and she ate that book up. And then I also read Caldoris, which is the epilogue book to Lynette Noni's series. It wasn't necessary, no. Did I eat up every second of it? Absolutely. If you don't like bows tied on things and you don't like sappy endings, don't read it. That's all I have to say. I also, Iron Flame. I forgot about that one. I am not done with Iron Flame, if I'm honest. I'm not calling it a DNF, but I might. No, I'm gonna finish it. That would be silly. I'm in the middle. I'm like 75% of the way done with it, and I was just annoyed. So I'll talk more about that next month when I actually finish it. I have thoughts. And that's the reading, which is kind of wild that we were able to read this much. Wow. Life updates. I've recently started my new job, so just kind of getting the ropes with that, but my birthday was in November. See if you can guess which day it was. I never told you. How old did I turn? 23? Am I revealing that? Age reveal. Yeah, I turned 23. But I will talk a little bit about my plans for December. So the first one is to continue and finish Project Gas Station. I think I could do it in about a week. I'll still be vlogging, but I won't be vlogging every day. Don't be silly. It'll be strange to write without videotaping. Are we in 1897? Hopefully I can get that done early in December, because then I will jump back into Project Groove, which if you're new from NaNoWriMo, the book I worked on mostly last year or this year is Project Groove, which is an adult thriller as well. I had just finished a revision of it, and I want to go back and do a couple things because I wanted to give it to readers over Christmas. So I did finish the revision, but I just need to read through the second half again and like make sure everything's good, because I kind of rushed through the second half. I need to do that, and I also want to do a dialogue pass where I just highlight the dialogue and I make sure that everything is consistent with character. And in the dialogue pass, I might also do a prose pass and just make sure like all the sentences are nice. Most of them that happens intuitively, but I just want to like really like do a read through where I'm focused on dialogue and like physical sentence structure. And I'm hoping to do all of that in December, which she said goals. Hopefully take Christmas off. See, I hesitate to do that because as a working woman, like that's really one of the only large uninterrupted chunks of free time that I'll have. So honestly, I will probably, what I'll do, I'll prep for querying. That's what I'll do. Because my plan is this round of readers that I'm going through the next time is not like, it's more of a pass. It's are there glaring issues that I didn't see? Does the plot make sense? Do you feel emotionally connected? Kind of a pass. So if that round goes how I think it will, and I'll correct like smaller things, hopefully, unless there's like a giant plot hole that gets uncovered, which would be frankly annoying and rude. If there is, then I'll obviously address that. But my goal is to be querying in like February. So I'll kind of get all my materials prepped for that. That is my very unachievable goal for December, is to finish this book, do another round of revision on my, like really, if you think about it, that's another round of revision on Project Groove and prep for querying. But you know, miracles happen. That's kind of what you can expect to see from me. I will also just be taking it a little bit slower. And I am now getting a work call. So I think I'm gonna leave you here. I might have something else to say, but if not, thank you for being here for NaNoWriMo. Thank you for joining me if you're new or if you're sticking around, and I'll be back very soon, but it really has just meant a lot. We're like very close to 700 if like 8 of you would like to subscribe. But I started NaNoWriMo with about 550 subscribers, I think, and now we're almost at 700. So that is kind of an insane amount of growth for me. I started this channel in February. And it's been pretty steady growth, and I have had a couple of spikes here and there, but this is one of the bigger spikes. So I am so happy that this kind of content resonated with so many of you. I hope that it continues to. My content is very similar. If you're just jumping in for NaNoWriMo and you haven't seen any of my other vlogs, it's very similar. It's a little bit more, there's just a little bit more detail in the editing, and like a little bit more graphics, a little bit more text, a little bit more sound effects, that kind of stuff. But it is mostly writing vlogs. The reason I have this channel is to make myself actually write my darn book. So I'll have a 2024 goals video coming also in December, but let me know if there's any other types of videos that you'd want to see. But most of all, just thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. I hope the writing went well. Let me know how your NaNoWriMo went, because this is like by far my most successful NaNoWriMo, and it's 100% due to dictating, 100%. I'll see you when I see you. A couple days, couple weeks, who even knows?